At certain points during an NFL season, players and teams will send messages that will absolutely be heard throughout the NFL. Well, the Detroit Lions just sent one, and it's definitely gotten everybody's attention. Stay tuned, everybody. We're going to talk about it.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, my Lions friends and fans. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike. And as always, we're diving on in. My friends, the first thing I want to do is I do want to apologize that I haven't pushed out anything over the last couple of days. I wasn't exactly feeling the greatest. I was feeling run down. I was feeling tired. Part of that is because of the work life I have. Another part of it is I'm going through some physical things right now to where I have less energy. Maybe you all have been able to figure it out. Maybe some of you haven't quite understood exactly what I'm saying, but it's nothing of serious nature. It's just I needed to take a break to kind of relax and recharge. But here we are right now. Let's talk about what this episode is. Like I said in the intro, during points of the NFL season, there will be times when players, coaches even, teams definitely will send messages throughout the entirety of the NFL. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be a positive message. It doesn't necessarily have to be a provocative message. It can be a bad one. It can be a negative one, whatever the case might be. Messages are still messages. So let's consider the Detroit Lions here for a moment. The Lions are currently in their bye week. They are 3-1. They are considered Super Bowl contenders. They're easily considered a top 5 team for most analysts, most NFL fan bases. As we're heading into the bye week, the Lions and Lions fans have a great sense of achievement after the commanding win over the Seattle Seahawks. We won by 13 points. I call that commanding. When we think about that, first and foremost, the fact that we finally won against them, that's big. I mean, for crying out loud, we hadn't beaten them in freaking 12 years. But then on top of that, the fact that, we had all of the records that we accomplished during that game, all of the NFL history we accomplished during that game. Obviously, the big one I'm talking about is Jared Goff's 18 straight completion record. I'm telling you this right now. I do not think that record is ever going to be broken. It's hard enough to get a string of like 6, 7, 8 completions in a row. 18? Yeah, good damn luck. You're going to have a hard time trying to do that, especially in today's NFL. But anyway, what I'm trying to get at here is that underneath all of the excitement, all the celebration that we've been talking about here following the win against the Seattle Seahawks, tucked, kind of sneakily away under the radar, the Lions had sent a message. But I'm going to tell you this right now. While it was kind of tucked away, trying to signify that, maybe not everybody was paying attention to it, I can definitely tell you this. Everybody in the NFL heard that damn message, and they heard it with resounding clarity. Let's understand something here, folks. The Lions are a team that over the last 2 years have earned the respect of the rest of the league for their very tough, very gritty style of play, which obviously is, a reflection of Dan Campbell's coaching style. And let's understand this. The rest of the NFL has realized that the Lions are no longer what we used to be called as lovable losers. Now it's like, okay, we are a competent ball club. We are a damn good team. We are a Super Bowl contending team. And you know what? That has been an absolutely great feeling to have over the last 2 years. We're now respected. We've now earned our spot, if you want to call it that, in kind of the hierarchy of the NFL. But I'm going to tell you this right now. While having the respect of the rest of the NFL has been great, and, the peers throughout the league, media, fans of other places, whatever you want to call it, that has been great. There had been something that up until this season, we had not yet quite earned. And here's what I mean. This is what the message has to do about what I'm talking about here. The Lions, when they sent out that message to the rest of the NFL, what it had to entail was a simple 4-letter word. The Lions are respected, yes, but now they're also feared. Let me put this to you very bluntly, and let me put it to you very simply. The Lions have now entered into a territory here where it's like, okay, we can, still play a damn good football team. We can still play damn good football to win a game very convincingly. And, oh, that's right, we do not have to play our best football in order to do it. That's the message. Because let's understand something here. Even though I dogged Seattle throughout the course of the week, and I still stand by that, let's understand Seattle is still a pretty damn good team. I just noted the fact that they had quite a lot of misconceptions about their team being this great team. It's not a great team. It's a really solid, good team, but let's not get ahead of ourselves as far as that 3-0 record. That was what I was trying to get at. But my point is, for this episode, is the Lions, when they played the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football, they sent out that message, and it was a rather, how should I say it? It wasn't a verbal message, though I suppose in some ways you could call it that, but rather the message was spoken through how the Lions played. Again, you go back to that game. The Lions did not have their best game altogether, all-encompassing. It was by far the best game we've probably ever seen out of the offense over the entirety of the Ben Johnson and, Dan Campbell, kind of combined duo on offense. It's been probably the best game that we have seen from Jared Goff as far as an execution standpoint. Maybe not a statistical one as far as like touchdowns and, stuff like that, but still, 18 of 18, 155 passer rating, you ain't going to find a much better game realistically. But that's only part of this conversation. Let's recap here really quickly. If you go back over the first 3 games that the Lions have played this year, it was the exact opposite of what we saw Monday night against the Seahawks. The defense had actually been the star, unit for the first 3 games. The defense was not only better than what we'd ever seen it, but it was actually now in a position to where it could carry the offense, which is something we've never seen before. Think about it. Every single time over the last couple of years, it always had to be the offense carrying the defense because the defense was just god-awful. But you go back to the first 3 games we played, the Rams, the Bucks, and I would say the second half of the Cardinals game, the defense was constantly having to pick up the slack to give the offense chances to try and win ball games. Well, that right there in of itself was a welcome sight because, okay, now we have a defense that if the offense struggles, if it's sputtering, it can pick up the slack and keep us in games. But when you think about it, what I'm trying to get at here is that when we have an offense that is not doing a great job like we saw over the first 2.5 games, that means the defense has to then limit points. And if you go back to the very first 3 games we played this year, our defense only allowed 53 points. That is about 17.5 points a game, folks. That is very, very easy to win with in the NFL. You are literally talking about two touchdowns and a field goal. Whereas when you take a look at our offense, even though it was struggling in the first 2.5 games of the year, we still had more points than our defense. We had scored 62 points on offense. That's a 9-point differential between the two. So think about what I'm trying to say here, folks. Even when our offense was struggling, sputtering, having difficulty scoring points, our offense could still score more than enough points to where we could actually win games, and win games against very solid teams. Because again, the Rams game we played, before they, went all to hell with their injuries, they were still a pretty damn good ball club. Let's see, the Bucks, they've been pretty damn good all year. They lost literally a heartbreaker against the Falcons. I'm not going to diminish that. I'm not going to have that diminish them as a team as far as a talent perspective. And the Seahawks are a good team. They are usually going to be one of those teams that every year you have to watch out from the NFC East because they can make the playoffs. I believe that we are better than them. I have said so as many times before. But don't underestimate the Seahawks by any stretch of the imagination, which was something I said all last week. So, offense, even when it was bad, was still able to score enough points, and our defense was able to keep things in check. That is a vast difference from anything we've ever seen with our Lions. And that is a huge part of where this message is going. But when you combine that thought process with these next couple of things, it gets even better. Let's think about it. Like I said, the Seattle Seahawks game comes along, and we've been having problems on offense. Some are beginning to wonder if maybe Ben Johnson is losing his touch. Maybe the NFL's figured him and Jared Goff out, and that, the Lions' 12-5 season last year was a mere one-hit wonder again. Well, think about this, folks. That whole thought process had to do with, like I said, the misconception of the fact that when we were getting set to play the Seattle Seahawks, everyone was like, oh yeah, the Seattle Seahawks have a top defense. They have the best passing defense in the NFL. Blah, 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 blah. They're 3-0. And it's like, okay, folks, let's see how that actually correlates when we get to Monday Night Football. When you actually saw the game being played, the Lions on offense, despite the fact that they had sputtered the last 2.5 games, and that was, again, against the Buccaneers defense, which is a good quality defense for a whole game. And then, again, the Cardinals are no slouches, even though they have a losing record. Same thing with the Rams. Well, okay, like I said, the first 3 games we played, we only scored 62 points, folks. Against the Seahawks, we dropped a damn 40-burger. We scored 42 points. And again, that's with Goff doing what he does. Freaking 100%, 18 for 18. He literally was perfect in every single sense of the word besides the passer rating. If you take a look at how Jared Goff has performed over the last 2 games, he's completed 87.8% of his passes, folks. That is tied second for the highest completion percentage rate ever since the 1970 AFL-NFL merger. And then on top of that, Goff's 292 yards in a game where he didn't miss a single throw with, 10 plus more attempts, that is the most yards that has ever been thrown by a quarterback in said game since 1939, folks. 1939. We're talking before the freaking, World War II period. And then, think about this. The other stuff that we did in that game. Goff and St. Brown's connection. It's now the 9th most receptions out of any NFL quarterback pass catcher duo in their first 60 games together. 321 receptions, folks. That's damn impressive. Then you take a look at Gibbs and Monty, the other wonderful duo we have on offense. They're only the third running back duo in NFL history to each post 70-plus scrimmage yards in each of the first 4 games of a season. The last 2 times that it's happened was the Steelers' Rocky Bleier and Franco Harris in 1976, and then the Browns in 1958 with Jim Brown and Bobby Mitchell. In case y'all don't know your NFL history, Franco Harris and Jim Brown are NFL Hall of Famers. They're greats. Rocky Bleier was a pretty damn solid running back for the freaking Steelers, so that's some damn good company to be mixed in with. So we're talking about an offense that all it had to do was, 1, find its mojo, get the right person for the wide receiver 3 position, and, oh my God, we literally blow up on freaking the supposed best defense in the NFL. Now, I will say this. All the records are great. They're nice to have, and they make a great topic of conversation. But why would those records strike fear throughout the NFL? Why should teams fear us just because of 1 game? It's like I said, because we as a team have not yet played a full-on complementary game, but we've not even played our best football yet, folks. Think about that. The defense, like I said, first 3 games proves that it can carry the game if the offense is struggling. But even though we get to the 4th game against the Seahawks and, the first half, both the offense and defense are doing pretty damn good. And then the defense in the second half falters a bit. Because out of the 27 points that the defense gave up in that game, 20 of them were in the second half. That's a pretty huge swing. What it tells me is one of 2 things. Either one, Aaron Glenn didn't make any adjustments for the second half, which that's entirely possible, or the Seahawks made adjustments and the Lions didn't make enough adjustments to work with that. Either way, the point of the matter is that the defense fell apart a bit in the second half and the offense had to carry the load. But what I'm trying to get at here is that we have not yet seen a full game between both offense and defense where they've been totally on the same page, and it's been a complete 100% game as far as complementary football and the best football we've been able to see from said team. Now, obviously, to a certain extent, that would be expected because we're only into the fourth week of the year, folks. Most teams are not realistically going to get into their, I would say, kind of like their professional stride, if you will, like playing their really good football, until probably about mid to late October. Maybe early November at the latest, depending upon the ball club. But the point is that we have been able to play against some of the better teams in the NFL, again, prior to injury for one of them at least, and we've played some pretty damn good football despite not playing our best football. That's the mark of a Super Bowl team, folks, because your ability to be able to still play good when you're not actually doing your best, that is something that is absolutely crucial if you want to make it to the Super Bowl and to win said Super Bowl. Because let's think about this, folks. What is one area that a lot of people have been harping on over the last 4 weeks? I would say it's still the passing defense. Yeah, it's been better, but a lot of people have been, pointing fingers at certain, cornerbacks, Carlton Davis and Terrion Arnold. Well, here's the thing. The first 3 games of the year, they obviously had their struggles. Ain't nobody going to deny that. And then obviously people are going to want to be quick to point out all the pass interference calls during the game against the Seahawks. But those were mostly ticky-tacky. If you actually take a look at the statistics that those guys posted in that game, they did pretty damn well against a, offense that had Geno Smith, who has absolutely shredded us the last 2 years, and had, freaking DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Tyler Lockett, and also had Noah Fant. I mean, for crying out loud, that is a loaded receiving talent core for an offense. And what did our secondary do? Oh, that's right. Geno Smith absolutely carved us for a whole bunch of yards, but that's not totally on the defensive secondary. That's also on, guys coming out of the backfield. That's also on freaking linebackers. I'm talking purely our defensive backs here. If you go to PFF and you check out their numbers, as I'm about to put up on the screen here, what you're going to notice is that, number one, neither Davis or Arnold gave up a passer rating higher than 85, which is damn good. Number two, every single defensive back, including Kirby Joseph, who was back there pretty much by his lonesome. I mean, obviously he had Brandon Joseph back there, but Brandon Joseph ain't no Brian Branch. All 4 of the guys that I have on the screen, they did pretty damn well, again, holding themselves to less than an 85 passer rating. Multiple pass breakups, multiple forced incompletions, and again, most of them were able to hold, I believe, other than Kirby Joseph, and he only had 2 targets thrown his way, which, with the guy being an interception machine, that makes sense, so I'm not going to count that against him. They were able to hold Geno Smith as far as the completion numbers to a very low amount. So if you're wanting to realistically take a look at everything here, even though the defense, quote unquote, got absolutely shredded in terms of passing yards, that was more to do with the fact, at least in my opinion, that the refs were making it very difficult for them to, one, cover, so then they had to play more relaxed in terms of their, aggressive coverage. And then that's why we saw in the second half, Geno Smith just literally lit us up once again like a damn Christmas tree. Because when the refs are constantly throwing flags, you have to adjust somehow, which means you have to back the hell off. But we know that Aaron Glenn's style this year is to be aggressive, to be physical with the freaking wide receivers. So it's like, some days, like we saw against the Seahawks on Monday night, you're going to get a crew that's very, very ticky-tacky with those calls. That's exactly what we saw. So again, I'm trying to give you guys a perspective here. Even though in the 4th game of the year when we played the Seahawks, the Lions offense was the one that got all the news, and the defense, kind of fell off a bit in the second half, our defense is still doing pretty damn solid. And again, that was not the best game we'd seen out of our defense. If we want to be entirely honest, I think the best game we've seen out of our defense was probably the game against the Bucs. We held that Bucs team to 20 freaking points while our offense couldn't, freaking get going anywhere. And then then 2 weeks later, it's the exact opposite. Offense freaking has an explosion, and we're trying to make sure that we have enough points going into the second half to where if the defense falters, which it did a little, we can still pull out the victory. And oh, that's right. We pulled out the victory with 2 scoring drives to go. Like, we had, the Seahawks had to have 2 scoring drives in order to try and beat us. So again, my whole point here is this, to kind of get this all the way down to the end of the conversation. What brings me to my final part about this is that even though our defense didn't play its best game against the Seahawks, nobody's going to deny the fact our defense is significantly better last year, at least in terms of talent. The stats are a little bit more, I would say, kind of equal to where we were last year, and I'll talk about that probably a little bit later. But you have to understand something here. Where we're having issues primarily in the passing game, oh, that's right, it's a completely revamped secondary. Because, that's right, Rakestraw and Arnold were drafted, we traded for Carlton Davis, and Amik Robertson was brought in during free agency. That's a completely brand new unit, folks. And let's take a look at who we've played against in the first 4 games as far as quarterbacks and wide receivers. Oh, that's right. Stafford with Kupp and Puka Nacua, Baker Mayfield with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, Kyler Murray with Marvin Harrison Jr., and then, like I said, Geno Smith with Metcalf, Lockett, Smith-Njigba, and Fant. So I'm not at all too worried about our defensive secondary's ability. The rest of the defense has done pretty damn well. Run defense is still as good as ever. K9 is a pretty damn good back. The fact that he played as well as he did, yeah, it surprised me, but he's a damn good back. And then on top of that, we still have the ability to get after the quarterback like we did last year. So as far as I'm concerned, the fact that we haven't played our best game, both offense and defense together, that's what should scare the hell out of the NFL. Because let's take a look at the statistics and understand this here. The offense had its breakout game against the Seahawks, right? Well, even though that was our breakout game as far as points and everything, our offense still is the 6th best offense in the NFL for points scored. It's still the 5th best offense in the NFL for passing yards, and it's the 6th best offense in terms of rushing yards. Then when you take a look at the defense, which didn't have its best game, again, against the Seahawks on Monday night. Oh, that's right. We're tied 10th best in the NFL for points given up on defense. We're also we are 4th best in the NFL in terms of rush defense overall for yards given up. And we have the 10th best passer rating against quarterbacks for our defense. What I'm trying to say is this. Once we finally figure out a way to get both the best our defense can play with the best our offense can play and put them together, dude, that should scare the hell out of any team we play. Because if you think about it, look at every other team that's played right now in the NFL. Nobody has come close to what the Lions have been able to do on either offense or defense over the first 4 games. The Steelers, which are one of the teams that are, 4-0, they have a great defense, but their offense is crap. Whereas when you take a look at the freaking Chiefs, that's just Patrick Mahomes doing what he has to do to win. And Patrick Mahomes has not played very well this year. And then you take a look at the Minnesota Vikings. I have my own personal thoughts about them. I'm not going to reveal it here in this episode because I'm going to save that for another episode. But I will say this. The Vikings, they have looked good this year. I'll give them their due. But, again, my conversation topic about that is, let's not judge a book just solely by its cover now, shall we? But my whole point is, the Lions ought to scare the rest of the NFL because we literally are that damn close to putting it all together. And when we do, ain't not a damn person in the NFL going to stop us. That's how good our offense and defense have been playing by each other as solo units over the last 4 games. Put the two together in one, yeah, you ain't going to have a prayer. But Anyway, folks, I'm going to end this episode, and I just want to say, everybody, thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do one of these three things: like, comment, and subscribe. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, I want to highly encourage y'all, again, please subscribe. But also, make sure you hit that bell notification icon so that way you guys never miss some more content I push out. Also want to encourage y'all, please, share the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you possibly can. And please share it with your Lions friends and family members. Again, the more we share it, the greater the channel can grow, the greater the channel can spread, which allows us to bring in new viewership. And with that being said, to everybody, I hope you all enjoyed the content. Whether you've been a long-time viewer or your first time viewing me was today, I hope you all enjoyed it. And I hope everybody has something in their life that makes them happy, makes them smile. God bless, my friends. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.